Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's have a look at some stocks on the move today here in Europe. I'm Caroline Hepker with Tom McKenzie. We're joined by Bloomberg's breaking news editor, Louise Moon. Good morning, Louise. Let's start by thinking about NatWest earnings, a beat on operating profit. Pretty strong set of results, right? What do investors make of it?
Indeed, yeah. Investors are seemingly very happy. Shares have soared to a 15-year high this morning on the back of that. So as you say, their third quarter results beating estimates across the board, really, on a number of metrics. So taking pre-tax profit, for example, it was 30% higher than last year, and this is their highest earnings in at least a decade. So a strong set of results, essentially benefiting from higher interest rates or continued higher interest rates. And there was on top of that, there's a quote from the CEO saying they're becoming a much simpler bank with tight control of costs, supporting their digital transformation. So a bit of a transformation and interest rates benefiting them. If you compare it to Lloyds, for example, yesterday we've had a host of banking updates this week. And if you compare it to Lloyds yesterday, it was a lot more positive. But obviously, it has to be noted that Lloyds took a big hit from the motor finance provision. But if you take a step back and look at all the earnings, essentially they're kind of signalling that Brits or customers are coping well with the economic headwinds at the moment. And then we had retail data this morning that pointed to a similar kind of trend. And we've got more coming next week. So we've got HSBC and Standard Chartered coming next week, but so far coming in quite strong, and NatWest really strong this morning.
And Louise, in the drug space, in the pharmaceutical space, GSK, shares dropping there, about 1.6% right now. What is behind the drop and the fall in the stock price for GSK?
So when you first look at it, it seems like positive news. So US regulators have approved GSK's blood cancer drug that's called Blenrep. So they can obviously now bring that medicine to the US, which is the world's biggest pharmaceutical market. They had pulled the drug in 2022. There were questions about how effective it was, but now they can bring that back to the market. So it's quite an important milestone. The drug is very critical to GSK's revenue ambitions. But as you say, shares are dropping. They're dragging the FTSE 100 this morning in London. This is because, despite being approved, there are a lot of caveats that have come with that approval. So the eligibility pool of who can use it is smaller than expected. It can now be used for slightly more advanced scenarios than had been expected. So there are concerns about the potential for sales, so the viability of its commercial opportunity. So that's what's really dragging the shares this morning, despite that important milestone being reached.
Meanwhile, Accor shares gaining after the hotelier's guidance was increased.
Yeah, raised guidance this morning, essentially on the back of cost savings. They've been simplifying a lot of their portfolio. There was also a host of other positive news alongside their earnings. So they issued a new buyback, that's 100 million euros, that's for the fourth quarter. They also might list their lifestyle brands portfolio. That has been touted before, but they've confirmed that this morning. And this was all with their third quarter earnings. They came in line with estimates. Quite positive comments about their current trading. There is still some potential weaknesses there in some large markets like Germany and China, but shares shot up in France, so they're now slightly higher than a year ago, kind of continuing that positive trajectory.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.